They said no creature survives 7 plasma bolts to the chest. Yet the girl smiled through blood and whispered one word. Wait. It was not the kind of moment the Empire bothered recording. Deaths happened daily, some louder than others. But in the market square of Theris 9, a crowd of frightened colonists stood frozen, burned faces turned away, while the smoke from plasma rifles drifted through the air like incense from a cruel altar. The girl lay on the stones, her patched backpack spilling trinkets, a broken wristwatch, a notebook with doodles, a candy wrapper so faded its brand was illegible. 17 years old, Lena Markov was supposed to be an exchange student, a tourist of the stars. Instead, she became an example. The officer holstered his sidearm, his movements polished by habit. Order is restored, he announced to no one in particular. The crowd obeyed in silence. Eyes lowered, feet shuffled. Theris 9 had learned obedience, not because it wanted to, but because survival was a timid thing. Yet the shopkeeper closest to Lena knelt anyway. His hands trembled as he tried pressing the wounds. It was useless. He knew that. Everyone knew that. Still, he whispered, "Child, child, be still." Her lips moved. A tiny ghost of a grin broke through her pain. And then the word, so fragile he almost thought he imagined it. Wait. Her eyes dimmed. The shopkeeper wept in silence, then backed away, lest the soldiers see him grieving. 9 hours later, the stars above the colony stirred. Cole Ransom had seen worse planets. Barely. His shuttle rattled like loose change as it broke atmosphere, each bolt groaning against gravity. To the Imperial patrols, his ship was just another freighter on an authorized route. To anyone with an engineering degree, it was a crime against physics. Welded plates, scavenged engines, whole sections stitched together with wire, and something suspiciously like duct tape. But it flew. That was all Cole needed. He chewed gum, staring at the blinking console. Widowmaker, don't fail me now. His ship answered with a worrying hiss. He'd gotten a message 3 days ago, smuggled through rebel relays and encrypted in a form of English so outdated it referenced MySpace. At first he thought it was a joke, but it wasn't. A girl, shot in the street. 7 times. Humans were rare in the colonies. Too stubborn, too noisy, too inclined towards sarcasm. Empires didn't like sarcasm. Cole had spent half his life fighting for survival, the other half pretending he didn't care. But something in the message scratched under his skin like a splinter. A child, 17. By the time his shuttle landed on Theris 9, the locals already knew. They stared as he walked through the dust-choked alleys, his boots scuffing cobblestone. He wasn't dressed like a soldier. His jacket was frayed, his armor dented, his rifle slung carelessly across his back, as though it were just another tool. He looked more ghost than man, cheekbones sharp, eyes hollow from sleepless nights. "Are you human?" one boy whispered from behind a barrel. Cole smirked. "Last I checked, unless Florida's seated again." The boy didn't understand, but the smirk was contagious. Cole found a shopkeeper eventually, sitting outside his shuttered stall. The old man's hand shook as he handed over the story. "She was not even a fighter," he said. "Only a child. She spoke against them. That was her crime. They left her body in the square. No one dared." His voice broke. Cole crouched, eyes hard. 7 times, you said?" "Yes." He stood, stretching stiff shoulders. "Cute number. I'll return the favor with interest." Night draped itself over Theris 9. The Empire's banners hung from steel poles, crimson cloth fluttering like the tongues of predators. Soldiers drank in their barracks, laughing about the day's execution. They had no idea the shadows outside shifted with intent. Cole moved through the alleys like smoke. No stealth tech, no cloaking field, just training and patience. He rigged explosives from kitchen scraps, tripwires from fishing line. He left his calling cards, strips of duct tape stuck to doors, childish sketches carved into walls. A stick figure with messy hair, standing tall. Lena. At dawn, the barracks exploded. The ground shook, glass shattered, soldiers screamed. And in the smoke, a rumor was born. The ghost of Earth had come. The Empire doubled patrols. Arrested dozens. Threatened hundreds. Still, the whispers spread. He was everywhere. In the rafters, in the shadows, in the reflections of shattered glass. Some said he traveled with a cat. Others swore he could vanish in daylight. And always they called him a ghost. For Cole, it was simple. Each move was a distraction, a dent, a reminder that the Empire was not untouchable. He didn't need victory. He needed spectacle. And so, 9 hours after Lena's last breath, the town square blazed with rebellion. They dragged her body out again at sunset, displayed like a warning. The commander's voice crackled over loudspeakers. This is the fate of defiance. Humanity is nothing. Humanity will bow. The lights cut out. Not dimmed. Not flickered. Died. The crowd gasped. In the silence came a voice dry, amused, and unmistakably human. Funny thing about us, we don't bow. We binge watch. Spotlights snapped on. Cole stood on the execution platform, armor patched with duct tape. Lena's bloody handprint smeared across his chest plate. In one hand, a plasma rifle cobbled from spare parts. In the other, a frying pan. The commander snarled, "You dare? I'm from Florida." Cole cut in, firing at the loudspeaker. Sparks rained. The crowd screamed as soldiers scrambled. Cole dropped into them like a blade. His rifle barked, the frying pan cracked skulls, and his laughter echoed through the chaos. "Duct tape is stronger than your empire," he shouted mid-swing, smashing a helmet clean off. The battle wasn't a war. It was theater. Every strike, every shot, every sarcastic quip was a performance for the people watching. For Lena, who had refused to bow, minutes later, the square was silent except for groans of the defeated. The commander knelt, bloodied, beaten, eyes wide with humiliation. Cole leaned close, breath hot against his ear. "She was just a kid. You shot her 7 times. I'll let the galaxy decide how many times I return the favor." He left the man alive. Alive to remember. Alive to spread the story. The crowd, stunned, erupted into forbidden applause. And here, dear reader, is the truth the Empire never understood. Sometimes ghosts were flesh. Sometimes vengeance walks with duct tape and sarcasm. Empires fear fleets, but they crumble before stories. One girl with 7 bullets. One ghost with nothing left to lose. Remember this. Dignity is contagious. Even in silence, even in fear, one spark can set the night ablaze. And if you ever feel small, crushed beneath cruelty, remember Lena Markov. She was 17. She smiled through blood. She whispered, "Wait," and a ghost listened. They said humans had no patience for subtlety. Then Cole Ransom turned an entire city into a stage, and every shadow began to whisper rebellion. Morning on Theris, 9 should have been quiet. The twin suns had just begun their slow climb, painting the stone streets in copper and gold. Market stalls reopened, merchants arranged wilted fruit, and children chased each other between banners bearing the Empire's crimson crest. But there was no normal. Not after last night. Not after the ghost. Cole's attack had spread faster than fire through dry brush. Every tavern carried the story. The man who wielded a frying pan against armored troops. The duct tape prophet who scrawled strange symbols on walls. The soldier who left commanders alive so they might carry fear back to their masters. He had not just fought. He had mocked, turning terror into theater. The people, long cowed into silence, began to laugh again. Dangerous laughter, shaky at first, but real. Even children whispered his name, Ghost. For the Empire, it was unacceptable. And unacceptable required extermination. The Imperial commander, his face still bruised from Cole's fists, ordered an immediate lockdown. Squadrons of soldiers stomped through the streets, armor polished, rifles ready. They searched every home, seized supplies, threatened families. By noon, 30 citizens were already executed for collusion. Blood slicked the stones, and a laughter faltered. Cole watched from a rooftop, chewing gum, his rifle across his knees. He knew the cycle. He'd seen it before. Rebellion brings reprisal. Reprisal breaks the spirit. Spirit dies quietly. But he wasn't here to win a war. He was here to haunt one. Beside him, the shopkeeper who had dared help him clutched Lena's backpack like a relic. You made them angry, the old man whispered. That's the point, Cole muttered. Angry men make mistakes. By evening, Cole struck again. This time not with explosions, but words. The Empire forced the town into the square, demanding confessions. Loudspeakers blared, accusing voices boomed. Then the feed crackled, sputtered, and a new voice slid across the speakers like smoke. Hello, boys and girls, Cole drawled. This is your friendly neighborhood haunting. Quick poll. Who here thinks plasma rifles are a substitute for a personality? The crowd gasped. Soldiers spun, searching for the signal. The commander snarled orders, but Cole's laughter echoed from every speaker, every corner, every device. You want obedience? Sorry. Humanity doesn't come with an off switch. We come with duct tape, sarcasm, and binge-watching habits that could outlast your empire. Children giggled. Even adults couldn't hide their smiles. The soldiers fired blindly at speakers until sparks rained across the square. But the damage was done. The people had tasted defiance. That night, the Empire retaliated harder. Entire families were dragged into the open and executed. Fires lit the horizon. Cole watched from the alleys, jaw clenched. This was the price of spectacle. Innocents paid for his theater. He moved silently through the carnage, pulling survivors into hiding, carrying children on his shoulders. To them, he was no longer just a ghost. He was a shield, dented and weary, but still standing. Yet guilt gnawed at him. He was one man. He couldn't stop an empire's hammer. And then he saw her. Not Lena, she was gone, but a girl not much older, her face smeared with soot, clutching her little brother's hand. She stared at him, unafraid, her voice firm. You don't look like a ghost. You look tired. Cole blinked, then laughed, bitter and quiet. Smart kid. Will you leave too? She asked. He hesitated. Not yet. The girl nodded, as if that were enough, and led her brother into the shadows. By dawn, Cole had made his choice. If the Empire wanted a ghost, he'd give them one worth fearing. He broke into their communications hub, slipping past guards with ruthless efficiency. Every step was muscle memory. Knife across a throat, boot against the door, silence maintained at gunpoint. When he reached the control room, he rigged the systems with explosives. But instead of detonating, he broadcast. Not threats this time. Not jokes. A story. He told them about Lena. About the girl who had spoken truth with her last breath. He described her smile, the candy wrapper in her pocket, the way she whispered wait. He told them that she had not died alone, because now the whole galaxy carried her name. The locals listened, tears burning. Even soldiers trained for obedience felt the weight of it. And Cole ended with a promise. You thought 7 bullets ended her. They didn't. They multiplied her. Every child here carries her defiance now. And me? I'm just the echo. The Empire will not forget this echo. Then he cut the feed and vanished into the night, leaving the building wired to blow. The commander arrived minutes later, furious, only to see graffiti scrawled across the console in duct tape. We wait. The climax came 2 days later. The Empire marched its full force into the square, armor gleaming, weapons primed. They would burn the city to ash. But as the commander raised his rifle to signal slaughter, a gunshot cracked from the rooftop. His weapon spun from his hand. The ghost stood above, silhouetted against the suns. Lesson 1, Cole shouted. Never assume ghosts miss. Chaos erupted. Soldiers scrambled, civilians scattered. Cole leapt into the fray, rifle spitting fire, frying pan swinging like judgment. The people, emboldened by his defiance, threw stones, bottles, even fists. It wasn't victory, it was survival with teeth. By the end, the Empire held the square, but barely. Their soldiers were battered, their commander humiliated again, his armor smeared with paint and blood. Cole escaped into the alleys, but his message lingered. Ghosts could not be caged. The town smoldered in silence. Families mourned, walls crumbled, ashes drifted like snow. But beneath the grief lay something new, something fragile. Not hope, not yet. Something sharper. Dignity. The shopkeeper found Cole the next night, sitting by Lena's Camelot memorial. You've doomed us, he whispered. Cole chewed his gum slowly, staring at the flame. or freed you. Time will tell. And you? Cole sighed. I told the girl I'd wait. So I wait. That's what ghosts do. Listen closely, reader, and understand. Empires fall not from fleets or armies, but from laughter in the dark, from a girl's last smile, from one man too stubborn to stay silent. Fear chains the body, but dignity? Dignity infects the soul. So when the world tells you to bow, remember Lena Markov. Remember the ghost who turned grief into theater. And remember this, sometimes survival is rebellion enough, and sometimes rebellion is the only prayer worth whispering. They claimed ghosts could not bleed. Then Cole Ransom left a trail of red across Theris. 9. And the Empire realized even legends have veins. The city was a carcass. Smoke curled from collapsed homes. Banners burned in alleyways. And the air stank of charred steel and singed flesh. Patrols stalked the ruins like wolves, dragging survivors into cages. Fear had returned, heavy and choking, but beneath it pulsed something stranger, anticipation. Every boot step, every crack of rifle fire was followed by whispers. Is the ghost watching? Cole was watching. From the rafters of a ruined church, he stitched the gash across his ribs with threads stripped from his jacket, teeth clenched against the pain. Blood soaked the cloth beneath him. He wasn't immortal, wasn't untouchable, just stubborn enough to keep standing. He muttered under his breath, half prayer, half sarcasm. Florida man survives plasma burns with duct tape and spite. Local authorities baffled. He almost laughed, then coughed blood instead. Across the square below, the Empire prepared its spectacle. The commander, armor polished and temper frayed, had arranged gallows where Lena once fell. One by one, prisoners were dragged forward. The crowd watched in silence, grief boiling under the surface. The commander raised his voice, magnified by speakers. Your ghost is broken. Your resistance is meaningless. Tonight, we erase the last memory of rebellion. Cole pressed a hand to his wound. He could let it happen. He could vanish into the night, and no one would blame him. But then he saw her again, the soot-smeared girl from before, clutching her little brother's hand in the crowd. She stared at the gallows, unblinking, unafraid. When her eyes lifted to the church rafters, he swore she saw him. That was enough. Darkness fell. The execution drums thundered. The first prisoner was dragged up. Soldiers leveled rifles. And then the lights died. Every torch, every floodlamp, every speaker. Darkness swallowed the square hole. The crowd gasped. The commander barked orders. And then came a voice, sharp and amused, cutting through the black like a blade. You still don't get it, do you? Ghosts don't vanish when you kill us. We multiply. Searchlights flared to life. Cole stood atop the gallows, armor patched with duct tape, blood shining wet across his side. In one hand, his rifle. In the other, Lena's patched backpack. This, he said, tossing the pack at the commander's feet, is heavier than your whole empire. The crowd erupted. Stones flew. Bottles shattered. Even chains rattled as prisoners pulled free in the chaos. Soldiers raised rifles, but Cole was already moving, leaping from the gallows into their midst. Every strike was brutal, desperate, fueled by fury and exhaustion. His frying pan rang against helmets. His rifle spat fire, and through it all, his voice carried above the din. She was 17. You shot her 7 times. How many times should I return the favor? The commander lunged at him, blade drawn, and for a heartbeat the square froze. Cole met him head-on, steel clashing, sparks flying. The duel was savage, each blow driving deeper into pain. Cole's wound screamed, his vision blurred, but he fought like a man who had nothing left to lose. At last, with a roar, he drove the commander backward onto the gallows, disarmed him, and pressed the blade to his throat. The crowd held its breath. Cole's hand trembled. Killing him would be easy, but death was quick. Fear was lasting. He lowered the blade and leaned close, whispering into the commander's ear. Tell them. Tell every world. Humanity doesn't bow. We wait. Then he struck the commander across the face with a frying pan and left him unconscious in the dust. The Empire broke that night. Not in fleets, not in policy, but in spirit. Soldiers deserted. Citizens rose. Graffiti bloomed across walls. Duct tape symbols, crude sketches of Lena smiling, words scrawled in dozens of languages. We wait. Cole staggered into the alleys, clutching his ribs. The shopkeeper found him hours later, dragging him into hiding. "You'll die if you stay," the old man said. Cole shook his head weakly. "I'm already dead. That's what a ghost is." The soot-smeared girl appeared, eyes fierce. "No, you're alive. We saw you bleed." He chuckled, then winced. "Guess I'm bad at haunting." "You're not haunting," she said. "You're teaching." Days blurred. Cole's body weakened, but the fire he'd lit raged beyond him. Other colonies heard. Other rebellions stirred. Lena's name traveled on lips and screens, a martyr who had smiled through blood. Cole's myth twisted into something larger, something untouchable. When the time came to leave, he stood once more in the marketplace, beneath the stars. A single candle burned on the stones where Lena had fallen. He knelt, lighting another beside it, his hands steady despite the pain. "She was right," he murmured. "We're not insects. We're people, and people don't vanish. We echo." The shopkeeper asked, voice soft, "Will you ever return?" Cole chewed his gum, smiled faintly. "Ghosts don't return. They linger." And with that, he vanished into the night, leaving only the candle's flame behind. Now listen carefully, reader, because this is the truth. Empires fall in whispers, not wars. A girl of 17 taught dignity to a broken world. A wounded man taught fear to a tyrant army. And together, they became a story no fire could erase. So when cruelty tells you that you are nothing, when power insists you bow, remember Lena Markov and the ghost who answered her last word. Remember that dignity is stubborn, laughter is dangerous, and memory is sharper than steel. And if someday you find yourself standing alone against the impossible, do as she did. Smile through the blood. Whisper, "Wait," because ghosts will always hear you.